given by God, and they don't mean Ashanti chakra.
Milo's willing to call me out on knowing it, not knowing it.
I don't know what it is.
Milo doesn't have a shit.
Doesn't know what it is.
He'll complain about Dr. Oz being a dual citizen. He's only a British citizen, so it's really rich.
You are completely incorrect.
When was water discovered?
Please don't make this guy your White House correspondent. Criminal trials in American courtrooms. What book do you swear on so that everyone knows you're telling the truth?
Is it the Bhagavad Gita?
No, it's the Bible. Grow up.
Is Britain a Christian country? I'm not sure. Maybe you could tell us about Britain instead of America.
I can't believe you don't know this. Psychological rift that has opened up in the heart of the country that has made America schizophrenic.
Welcome back to Rattlesnake TV, guys. In this video, we are going to be watching Milo Yiannopoulos' heated debate from his recent appearance on Tim Pool. The debate was basically about whether or not America in its founding was Christian. And Milo really does not hold back. And I always do enjoy Milo's takes. As much as people really don't like him, a lot of people don't like him, and as much as he is a provocateur and quite a divisive figure, I've always found that his political takes are very solid. And whenever I've listened to his arguments in the past, generally they seem to age pretty well. And he always seems to be a little bit ahead of the curve. And also always funny and entertaining. So with that, let's get into the first part.
If you have problems with dual loyalty, I mean, my goodness. No, Oz is a foreign weirdo.
Let's repeal.
Thank God for Fetterman.
Repeal the 17th.
I'll just get rid of all of them. Get rid of all of them. Listen, what Adam said, okay, was that the Bill of Rights, meaning everything after the Constitution, the amendments, was suitable only for the government of a moral and religious people.
That's right.
And what he meant by that was Christians, okay?
Why wouldn't he say Christian explicitly then?
Well, because...
Everybody was Christian.
Because it was
Then why wouldn't he say it explicitly?
Because it was a given.
Religious, you don't need to.
Elad,
you're wrong.
Religious freedom.
Christians,
religious
too.
freedom in the time of the founders was about competing Protestant denominations.
Yeah.
And those competing Protestant denominations, they wanted to avoid wars between Calvinists and Presbyterians, whatever. So religious freedom was designed to stop civil wars among Protestant denominations. And moral and religious people meant to the founders and everybody else at the time, Christians. You cannot give non-Christian people unfettered access to speech or guns. It doesn't work, and it's not working. Because if the First Amendment, basically the way this country is set up is morality is outsourced to Christianity, okay? You have a huge amount of freedom, unprecedented freedom for people to choose good or to choose evil. And the presumption in this country is that morality will be governed by a set of Christian norms. Even if people aren't like practicing Christians, they kind of inherit the sort of a fundamental understanding.
Elad is shaking his head. Nobody's wrong. I just want to say that.
The idea that the first, second, and our amendments are only made for Christians, I think they would have explicitly said that. Our country, I think, was founded on the explicitly the opposite, and they would have said Christian explicitly.
I gotta pause.
The writers of our constitutions were all lawyers.
And I gotta pause. With all due respect, you are completely wrong, and you need to read all of what the founding fathers had written about this because it is fairly explicit.
Yeah, and I think there was a range of religion amongst them, and I think they would have explicitly
the range of religion was Presbyterian, Unitarian. The range of religion was Christian religion. There are no Jewish founders. There are no Muslim founders. There are no Buddhist founders.
They're smart
there
enough
were
to
no
have
atheist founders.
Let's pause a second. Elad, let's start with the Fifth Amendment. Do you know why the founding fathers created 4th, 5th, and 6th?
Specifically, no. But
it's the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. It is literally, as the spoken word of the founding fathers, Benjamin Franklin said it is better that 100 guilty persons escape than one innocent suffer, which was a play on Blackstone's formulation. It is better that 10 guilty persons escape than one innocent suffer, which is literally written. And real quick, the story was Sodom and Gomorrah. It is better, if but one righteous person exists, I will not destroy this land. It was literally the Bible, which is why they said we should enshrine this in our Constitution.
And the inalienable rights that Americans enjoy are given by God, and they don't mean Ashanti chakra. They mean the Christian deity.
I don't think they. I think they would have said so. I think you guys are really overlooking how intelligent and smart the founders were, and if they thought Christian and they wanted the country to be explicitly Christian, they would have explicitly said so. And I think that's why you guys have to read into it. That's why you guys have to read it into it.
I got to stop you.
A Jew telling you to read between the lines.
I have read a lot of the foundational documents, and they would have explicitly written in Christianity.
When he asked you about 3, 4, and 5, could you have read them out? Do you know what they are?
No, not explicitly. Not explicitly. But that doesn't. I'm not rejecting.
You don't know the amendments you're talking about. Everyone else at the table
rejecting the religious influence on our founding documents. I'm saying they would have explicitly.
Tim, you've done it again. You found the only stupid Jew.
Moral. My favorite. Guys, hold on.
Why don't you think they would have excluded Christian in the code of moral?
We found the only retarded. Sorry, I didn't mean that. Sorry. I know I'm not supposed to say that. Sorry.
Let's pause real quick. Real quick.
In 2024.
I never know.
When they say a good and moral people, they believe that other religions are immoral because that was the standard.
Including yours.
The standard back then. That was
the
phrase. Excuse me. Just because I know that you are a recovering libertarian, my dear friend Phil. That's not the expression. The expression is a moral and religious people.
Fair enough.
And the religion is Christianity.
So the point about being a moral people is actually a really good point, I think. The founders presumed that the morality of the country would be governed by Christian norms. And that's what they meant when they said that the Constitution would be made for a moral and religious people. And this is why they're able to have free speech and guns. Because, I mean, if you give unfettered access to guns, like Milo said, and free speech to non-Christian people, then en masse, it would be chaos. And this actually got me quite curious, and I looked a few things up regarding this. And I found that the most high-trust, low-crime sort of countries in the world tend to have the strictest and the most lax gun laws. The strictest gun laws include countries like Japan, Singapore, UK, Australia, South Korea, Norway, and New Zealand. Countries that are, like we said, secular, high trust, low crime. And the only country that has the kind of access to guns that Milo was talking about and also free speech is America. But in terms of the guns thing, there's actually one country that is sort of similar, and that is Yemen, with a 50% ownership rate of guns in the population. They definitely don't have free speech, but they do have quite a lot of guns. And I mean, Yemen has been in a civil war for 10 years or so. Anyways, furthermore, as the number of people who identify as Christian in America has gone down over the last 50 years or so, the number of gun deaths has also gone up. And I know that correlation doesn't equal causation. We also have to adjust for the population. But it is interesting food for thought, and it just kind of begs the question, is it possible to have a country that has the level of unfettered access to guns and has the kinds of free speech that you see in the American Constitution, whilst also not being in any way Christian? Is it possible to replicate the anomaly that is America in a non-Christian place? So, I mean, let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'll be reading below. Perhaps there is a reason why we may truly never know the answer to that. So with that, let's carry on.
Now, I want to pause. My favorite amendment is Amendment 7, okay?
What's Amendment 7?
Off the top of my head, I can't tell you. How about you tell us, Milo? Stop, Tim. How about you tell us, Milo?
Well, he's a British guy.
Wait, no. Let's hear it. Milo's willing to call me out on knowing it, not knowing it.
I don't know what it is.
Milo doesn't have a shit. Doesn't know
what
either.
it is.
He'll complain about Dr. Oz being a dual citizen. He's only a British citizen, so it's really rich.
I'd like to open up to anybody else.
So
who
funny,
knows.
Milo.
Any of you guys know this? Okay, Elad, please. Guys, does anybody else want to take a strike at the 7th Amendment?
I don't know if that's
I don't know anybody.
No one knows this one.
Nobody knows the 7th.
Yeah. Because it doesn't matter. The 7th Amendment matters, sort of. It's the right to jury trials in civil cases, so long as it's over $20. Now, here's the funny part. Back then, $20 was nuts. Today, $20 ain't nothing. So there is a dramatic change in what that amendment means based on inflation and Federal Reserve policies, which I find hilarious. That being said, Elad, there are numerous writings. Now, I will stress this. There were some founding fathers who were deist. They believed in God. They didn't follow Christian moral teachings. But it is, your argument is a classic and incorrect argument which doesn't actually look into the letters, the writings, the books. What you're saying is, why didn't they explicitly state this?
I mean, it's in the Declaration of Independence.
It's the fish and water argument. Okay. So let me start you here.
I think they were purposefully inclusive.
How about
the founding fathers were purposefully
inclusive?
How about I finish? Sure.
Do you know how air was discovered?
Quick interruption, guys. Don't forget to smash that like button if you're enjoying the content here, and also subscribe to the channel. Plus, don't miss out on the reality-based Christmas collection, only available for 2 more weeks. We want to make sure that you guys can get your products on time for Christmas. Some of the products include the corduroy hat, which is incredibly durable and long-lasting. Reality-based's first ever knit sweater, which is just perfect for a cold Christmas day, as well as many other Make Christmas Great Again products and designs. Sweaters, t-shirts, mugs, hoodies, beanies, and the likes. So be sure to check out the reality-based store.
Do I know? It wasn't officially ever discovered.
Yes, it was. You are completely incorrect.
Air was discovered. Okay.
You are completely incorrect.
When was water discovered?
Air.
Please don't make this guy your White House correspondent. My God in heaven.
When was zero discovered?
It was a concept. It kind of always existed. It was not.
Oh my God!
It didn't always exist.
No, it did not.
Humans did not have a concept of zero. It was discovered. Humans did not know that air existed. They thought there was nothing here. It was the ether. There was an energy that you could feel. And then one day, some dude, they used to use these bronze orbs with holes in them and a straw. They would dunk it in water, put their thumb over the back, lift it up, and put it over themselves. One guy goes, "Hey, what happens if I put my thumb over the back and then put it in the water?" Hey, no water went in the little
Something
ball.
must be displacing.
Something is displacing the water. And then he said, "Guys, I got an idea." And that's when we discovered there was actually matter and mass all around us. Why didn't they write about air? It was in them and around them 24/7. There's no reason for the founding fathers, who
Correct.
were 99.9% Christian, to say, and don't forget, we're all Christians in this room, right? Let's write it down.
Except him also to say
Wait, in
the Declaration of
Muslim
Independence.
countries that does happen.
It is there. It is there.
Muslim and they still explicitly say it, so-
In all of the founding documents, God is actually present as well. It's just that they don't feel the need to say it in every clause.
But they never mention Jesus, and there's no mentions to Christianity. Just allusions to moral and religious people. I think John Adams is smart enough that if he meant explicitly Christians, he would have said Christians specifically.
I guess he did.
Moral
He
and
did.
religious.
He did. You
Not
just
in this
haven't
podium.
read any Adams.
No, you're
Elad,
wrong. You're
let's
British.
pause. Let's
You
pause.
think you know a lot
Elad.
more about American politics than you do.
How come our law books don't explicitly state that it only applies to humans?
Why do,
I don't think these are like kind.
I don't think these are. In
Is it because we assume, as all humans, we're not applying laws to dolphins?
In American courtrooms, until
fact,
very,
dogs
very
are exempt from these
recently,
laws.
until very, very recently, in criminal trials in American courtrooms, what book do you swear on so that everyone knows you're telling the truth?
I think it's your own religious
Is it-
book.
is
So
it the
whatever
Talmud?
religious book? I think if you're
Is it the Bhagavad Gita? Is it the Dead Sea Scrolls? No, it's the Bible. Grow up.
Do you know what percentage of this country right now is Christian?
depends on how you define it, but at least 60,
No, it
70%.
doesn't. It's
Yeah, it does.
self-reported in
I don't know.
surveys.
Are you discriminating between
It's about
Christians,
70
Catholics, which denominations?
No, they're all
They're
Christians.
all Christians.
It's
Okay.
in
70%,
surveys.
give or
It's about
take?
70%.
Okay.
Right.
And
It's a
if you-
Christian country.
And do you know what that number was in like the 60s?
Probably closer to 90.
Did you hear that?
99.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Congratulations.
If you go
Be
back,
nice to the your ruling elites, you know.
if you go back even 50 years, this country is
Might
about
serve you better.
95% Christian. If you go back 100, it's 100% Christian. There's very few people who weren't. Maybe some immigrants from Asia were, Buddhist or Confucianist or whatever.
And they would
But there-
never have been
there are some
imagined that they
there
would
are
have been running for
Muslim
president.
countries who, despite being 99% Muslim, still decide to enshrine their religious law explicitly. Islam
But they're not
explicitly
America, and
in
that's
their
not what America did.
Okay. Okay. Did they do it in Britain at all? Did they?
Let me ask you a question.
Is Britain a Christian country? I'm not sure. Maybe you could tell us about Britain instead of America.
The King of England is the head of the Church of
to-
England.
I don't know. That's why I'm asking the British guy, not the American citizen.
I can't believe you don't know this, but the British monarch is also the head of the Church of England, which is the Anglican Church.
Yeah.
So in Canterbury Cathedral has an archbishop who is the sort of religious, if you like, the chief executive in corporate terms. And in corporate terms, the president of the board, the chief of the board, is the monarch. So if you are an English monarch, you have to be an Anglican because they are also the head of the church, because the English church is an established church. So a disestablishment, which happened in 1776, is where you divorce religion from the state technically, right? And the reason it happened in 1776 is because if you're going to cast off the British king, you have to do something about the religion, because you can't be sort of paying obeisance to the head of your own religion when you've just deposed him as the head of your state. Okay.
Well, Milo, I apologize.
right.
It's truly
Well, I
easy to
haven't-
confuse you guys for a British
I haven't-
country
I haven't-
or a Muslim
all right,
majority
I haven't
country,
quite
rather.
finished. I haven't quite
I have a question
finished,
for you.
but-
Do you want to finish?
Well, just simply to say that when you the Washington National Cathedral, for instance, right, which is an Episcopalian church, the Episcopalian branch of Protestantism was invented basically to mirror high Anglicanism in Britain, is a clone of Canterbury Cathedral, and there's a reason for that, because the Episcopalian Church was basically and Washington National Cathedral was created to be a parallel and almost identical religious institution. And that is where Washington National Cathedral, that's where the presidents get buried. That's where things happen in American public life. All those things where, you see all the presidents lined up and someone's being buried. It happens in Washington National Cathedral, which is an Episcopalian Christian church. That is the national church of this country.
So Milo may have given away being gay, but he is still as catty as ever.
Did you hear that? Congratulations.
And catty in the sense that he loves to gossip, and he does some serious gossiping on this podcast later on, but we will not cover that. Caused a big fight on Twitter. But also catty in the sense that when he has his prey, he just plays with them and just messes with them for a little while, in the sense of the debate, of course. Anyways, the other day in the video that we did about Mark Wayne Mullen, we went through examples of how America was a Christian country since its founding, despite, of course, the technical separation of church and state. But to the question of the founding fathers and what they meant when they said a moral and religious people, let's go through a few of their quotes and see if we can get a grasp on what religion they might be talking about. George Washington said, "Of all the dispositions and habits which lead to political prosperity, religion and morality are indispensable supports." George Washington was a lifelong Christian. John Jay said, "Providence has given to our people the choice of their rulers, and it is the duty as well as the privilege and interest of our Christian nation to select and prefer Christians for their rulers." Alexander Hamilton, "I have carefully examined the evidences of the Christian religion, and if I was sitting as a juror upon its authenticity, I would unhesitatingly give my verdict in its favor. I can prove its truth as clearly as any proposition ever submitted to the mind of man." James Madison, "The future and success of America is not in this Constitution, but in the laws of God upon which this Constitution is founded." And Patrick Henry said, "It cannot be emphasized too strongly or too often that this great nation was founded not by religionists, but by Christians. Not on religions, but on the gospel of Jesus Christ." So, I mean, I don't think they're referring to Hinduism or Islam or Judaism. I really just can't see it. And all of the indications to me point to Christianity. But anyways, Milo made the great point before that people up until recently, for whatever reason, had to swear on the Bible in a court of law. And he continues to make very good points in the next part. And I actually do kind of feel sorry for the guy that he's debating, because he's clearly out of his depths here. And he really should just concede the argument rather than arguing in the face of so much evidence. But anyways, let's carry on.
So, Implied, I got a question for you about the Second Amendment. Do you know what it is?
Yeah, the right to keep and bear arms. I know that one, Milo. Necessary to the security of a free state.
We'll start from the beginning.
Roughly, I'm messing up.
No, I'm not being. Hold on.
Being cruel.
I am not being mean.
This is the one I know.
This is my point.
Necessary
and it's not to put him on the spot to say, you can look it up. I don't care.
I'm not looking it up.
A well-regulated militia.
Wait, all right, well. You got the well-regulated. I forgot that part. A well-regulated militia necessary to the security of a free state. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Yeah. What does it mean? Why did the founding fathers want that written in? What was their intent?
I think the attitude of the country at the time was of rebellion, and they were thinking that they needed to maintain being armed.
They wanted to continue the state of rebellion. It makes total sense.
No, well, they saw the tyranny that existed when they weren't armed, and they wanted to give the ability and the God-given right.
Why didn't they write that? Why didn't they include that in the amendment?
The God-given part?
Why didn't they write everything you just said down?
Because they spoke in lawyer talk and not.
So just one sentence. So, but clearly, if their intent was rebellion, they would have included for these purposes to oppose.
Well, a well-regulated militia, I guess, to prevent. I mean, that part could be argued. That.
Why did they write it down?
The whole thing?
Why didn't they write down what you're saying?
They were quite prolix people. I mean,
because there are many thousands. There are more implications that aren't explicitly laid out.
The point is this.
You mean implications that aren't explicitly laid out, like moral and religious people, meaning Christian?
This is my point.
No, I don't think those are like-kind still. I still don't think these are like-kind comparisons, though.
You're asking why they didn't write Christianity in a Bible when they were all Christians and assumed everyone was. And you're also stating that there are things they meant that they did not write down later. So which is it?
I just think you guys are reading into this quote really hard.
Answer the question I'm asking you.
Repeat it.
Were the founding fathers leaving out information that was assumed, or Were there things they intended to include they didn't write down?
There were things left out that people obviously...
Could that be that everyone in the room was Christian, so the assumption was moral and religious meant Christian?
It could be, but I don't think that's what he's referring to in this quote. I think it's much easier to say if you explicitly mean Christian here. Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. If he meant specifically Christian, I think it's an obvious thing.
I don't think
and in other...
Hold on. You made one point.
In Muslim majority countries, they say so explicitly.
Elad, you made a point. Your point will be answered to. Don't gish gallop. Satanism is not a religion that the founding fathers would have considered to be moral and religious. Right?
I agree.
Nor is Judaism.
Well, I don't think debatable. I think they would have said Judaism is moral and religious.
Not debatable.
What other religions did they mean here?
Not debatable.
Besides moral, besides Christianity, they only meant Christianity. Then I don't see as to why they wouldn't say that explicitly. If they only meant Christianity by moral and religious people, John Adams here, I think he would have said so explicitly. I think it's more inclusive than that.
Were they Christians? Let me explain
why.
Some were, some weren't. Were they Christians? Some were and some weren't.
All the founders were some form of Christian. I'll explain.
And now the question then is, do Christians typically say that other religions are correct?
I think the
the answer is no.
Chosen people. I think the Christians say the Jews are chosen people. So something about that. No,
Christians don't go around saying, well, the Mormons got a point.
Torah, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe one of you Christians could tell me more about it.
In order to demonstrate this, you can look, for instance, at the highest authority in America, which is not the president, it's the Supreme Court. Things are decided in America in courtrooms. The courtrooms are the places where America's national dramas play out, okay? Whether it's Roe versus Wade, the abortion debate is framed in terms of a court case, right? Whether it's the OJ trial, which told white America, there might be a problem here. I don't think blacks are buying into this thing that we wanted them to do post-emancipation, right? I think actually maybe they're just going to vote with other black people, and maybe we got a problem here, right? To Trump, to the Bush-Gore election, all of America's great national dramas are played out in the courtroom, okay? And the Supreme Court is the highest authority in this country because they get to choose the president if no one else can make their mind up.
Yeah.
Right? So
they can also rule on whether the president go to jail.
Of course. And in that place, they are holding their verdicts against a constitution that is based on Christian principles, such as oath-breaking, the commandment against bearing false witness.
Right.
Which means if you make a contract with somebody else, you stick to it. And if you don't, they can sue you and you got to pay them.
This is actually...
That flows directly from the Christian commandment about bearing false witness, just like all the other laws and just like the Constitution.
I read about all the Bill of Rights. The First Amendment was originally supposed to be, what was it, like salaries? The second was supposed to be apportionment. I could be mixing them up. And they ultimately dropped those. There were 17 original articles. They got condensed and some got eliminated. The Second Amendment used to have a line in it that stated that even if you did not serve in the military, you still had your right to keep and bear arms, which was so important because the left is arguing that the Second Amendment only applies to a well-regulated militia. And the original articles, I think it was the fourth at the time, stated you don't got to be in the military. You get to keep your guns. And they said, whoa, 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 whoa. This could be used in court to argue against conscription, that when we call someone up to serve to defend this nation, they could say, no, let's remove that part, have it be implied that everyone just keeps to have their guns. Now the Democrats are literally arguing that it means only a well-regulated militia. And it's like, heavens me, did you literally read about anything the Founding Fathers wrote when they were crafting this? They were all like, we want to make sure everybody has weapons. It's not just about tyranny. It's a generality. There is fear of a tyrannical government. However, they don't want people rising up against them. There was, I forgot the guy's name. There was the rebellion after the revolution when they didn't pay the people who fought. They revolted, and Jefferson and the other founding fathers were like, no, we're pardoning all of them because we cannot found a nation on internal fighting. There's a bigger component with the Second Amendment, and that is the militia is necessary to a free state, not just to oppose domestic problems, but foreign problems as well. If a foreign nation wants to invade and the average citizenry can rise up and form militia, they are much more defensible. However, because they didn't explicitly write it, they wrote it in external papers, drafts, and letters. The Democrats are now trying to strip us of those rights.
Right. So if you don't know anything about this, and you don't read the Federalist Papers, and you don't understand how all this stuff comes, it's easy to... And we can apply this to the First Amendment too. What is the First Amendment really for? It is to provide people with the freedom to do good or to do evil, right? It's to provide them with the free will to be saved or to be damned. Okay, and they can stand or fall on their own words, and no other man can say, you can do this, you can say this, or you cannot say this. Freedom is not really a Christian virtue, but it exists in the Bill of Rights because it provides people with the ability to do right or to do wrong and then be judged by it in the hereafter, okay? And to be able to express yourself in whatever way you want is a radical, dangerous, and unprecedented level of freedom that has not really existed in society or civilizations before this, that is only possible because it was assumed that America would always stay Christian. And as America has become less Christian, both of those first two amendments have begun to become a problem, particularly the first one, because we now live, just to demonstrate how wrong you are. Now that we live in a post-Christian America, which I think it's fairly unarguable that we do.
Let me pause real quick. Real quick, just make a point. And even though the country is 70% Christian, I believe large quantities are not practicing or paying attention. Or voting.
Yes, but I mean, sure. There's a lot. I mean, people who believe in prosperity gospel and whatever. I wouldn't really class us.
But continue.
Thank you. Now that we live in what is, in many ways, a post-Christian country, and I don't think it's because of that. I think what it really is that a country is its cities, right? A civilization from civis, the Latin means to live. It means to live in cities. Civilization means to live in cities, right? And a country is its cities, and we've lost our cities, right? And the cities determine the character, the laws, and the nature of a society, of a nation. We have lost our cities, and our cities are definitely post-Christian, if not actively anti-Christian. So I think that's probably really what I mean. Now, that a given, what is the result of that? Well, the First Amendment has provided for this creation of two completely different parallel fact universes that Americans now live in. There's the universe that you live in if you are, we could this is an oversimplification, but if let's say it's left and right. Let's say it's Democrat, Republican. Okay, it's not a very satisfactory way to talk about these categories. Maybe better would be like Bernie Trump versus Hillary Romney, right? But there are two completely different fact universes that Americans now live in, and every single issue that you talk about, whether it is moral or practical, has an A and a B that you have to choose between. And most people just line up with their tribe, okay?
Yep.
We live in these two completely different fact universes. This is a psychic fracture, a damaging, dangerous, psychological rift that has opened up in the heart of the country that has made America schizophrenic. Mm-hmm. It has given America, and this is a product of freedom shorn of Christianity. This is a problem of a First Amendment without the restraining influence of Christian moral teaching, which tells us that we must adhere to the truth, which holds in the transcendentals beauty, truth, and goodness, that we must always aspire to do those things that are good, beautiful, and true, and that promote unity, depending on which church fathers you read, okay? Take Christianity out, and the First Amendment is a mendacious liar's charter that rewards the people who lie the most audaciously and without honor and without regret. And it has created this psychic break in the country. That is what happens, and the founders knew this. That is what happens when you have a First Amendment shorn of Christianity.
It lifted the guardrails off morality.
So we know that this argument is correct because we have witnessed what happens when you take Christianity out of the equation.
And let's add to that with the Fifth Amendment. You end up with defense of the worst vile criminals. You end up with people being released.
So quite difficult to argue with Milo's point here. And if you guys have any rebuttals to this in the comments, please let me know. And it's also a very interesting point. In an immoral society where people aren't governed by some sort of transcendental objective morality, where people are just nihilistic and don't care about their neighbors and are self-serving, then the First Amendment is a terrible idea. Because if your objective is just power and to gain as much as you possibly can, then you'll just lie through your teeth if you're allowed to. But anyways, guys, that's all from me. Looking forward to reading your comments and perspectives below. And I hope Milo does do more of these because he does rub some people the wrong way, I guess, but he's very entertaining, you must admit. And never far away from a fight, which is good for a little bit of viewing on Twitter. And he's just good value in the space, I think. So anyways, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Check out that reality-based store just below there. And if you'd like to watch another video, right here. Till next time, I'm Jake. This is RattlesnakeTV, keeping you armed and dangerous.